If we are in charge of a computer or of a network of computers, one of our main responsibilities will be to avoid losing data. We can accomplish this by doing regular backups and providing for fault tolerance. Let's look at an overview of what we're going to cover. First, we're going to look at backup technology. Look at the hardware and the strategies that we use in backing up. Then we'll look at fault tolerance. We'll define what fault tolerance is, and we'll look at RAID, redundant arrays of independent disks. So let's look at backup technology first. Backup hardware can consist of tape drives, zip drives, jazz drives, read-write CDs, and even file servers with other disks. The type of hardware that we use will determine the type of media that we use for backup. For example, tape drives would use tape, zip drives would use a zip disk, and so on. Different types of hardware can contain different amounts of data. For example, a zip drive can only contain 100 megabytes of information, whereas a tape drive can contain gigabytes of information. So these are all pieces and parts of our backup hardware strategy. We should also have a strategy as to how and when we will perform backups. Most organizations combine a full backup at the beginning of a week with an incremental backup daily or a differential backup daily. A full backup backs up all the data on the drive that we've selected to be backed up. An incremental backup then backs up only the files that have changed since the last backup, whether that backup was incremental or was full. So incremental backups won't grow as the week grows. In other words, if we did a full backup on Monday and then did an incremental backup on Tuesday, and then another incremental on Wednesday, the incremental on Wednesday would probably be about the same size as the incremental on Tuesday, assuming we had a normal day. But differential backups back up the files that have changed or have been created since the last full backup. So a differential backup grows as the week goes by. So a differential backup may be faster to restore, since all we would have to do is restore the last differential plus the last full in order to get the system back up and running with all of its data. But a differential also takes longer to run as the week gets longer. And so for some organizations, doing a differential on a daily basis is not an option because there simply is not enough time when the system would be available for backup. By available for backup, we mean that we should not back up a system or a computer when there is activity on the system or the computer. So we can schedule backups to occur. We use software that's built into Windows 98 and Windows 2000 to schedule a backup to occur. It's best to back up when there's no other activity, so we can establish a backup schedule using the software. We can also use software to select what we want backed up. The Windows backup utility included with Windows 98 and Windows 2000 includes support for backup to both floppy disks as well as tape drives and other backup devices. And we can select the files and folders that we want to back up. And again, the old adage is back up what you can't live without and you can't replace. So backing up data is one way to protect our system and our files. Fault tolerance is another way, and we'll discuss fault tolerance in our next section.